Fox 5 and Hot 97 present Street Soldiers with Lisa Evers.
I'm so glad you're joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers on the fentanyl epidemic. I'm your host, Lisa Evers. The synthetic opioid fentanyl is cheap, easy to get, and it can kill you instantly. Used as a painkiller for serious illnesses, it's now become one of the most widely used recreational drugs. In 2020, the death toll was more than 93,000 people, over 10 lives lost every hour in the U.S. And now the DEA is warning that you could be at risk and not even know it.
From a health and safety point of view, the fentanyl crisis and the opioid crisis in general it's critical. People are dying every day.
Fentanyl is 50 times more potent than heroin. The DEA says El Chapo, who's serving a life sentence for drug trafficking, originally brought it to the U.S. Users in urban areas buy the powder form from street dealers and shoot it up with a needle. Increasingly, opioid users are getting it in fake pills they order online and pay for using a cash transaction app. The DEA became so concerned about a 30% rise in overdoses in 2020, they issued an alert warning pills you buy outside of a pharmacy may contain deadly fentanyl.
What we're seeing is more and more individual users that are going right just on their phone, ordering fentanyl, whether it's through the dark web or through social media, and having it delivered to their doorstep. And so that's really the dangers for us.
The accidental overdose death of beloved actor and humanitarian Michael K. Williams was attributed to a fatal mix of heroin, cocaine, and fentanyl. Prince reportedly had a high concentration of fentanyl in his body when he died in 2016. Pop star Demi Lovato says she was at death's door in 2018 when she suffered an overdose of pills laced with fentanyl. The DEA says the idea that illegal drugs are safe because they're in pill form is completely false.
We wanted to make the public aware of the real threat that's starting to emerge here, both in New York City and throughout the nation.
1 kilogram of fentanyl can go for more than $1 million. It yields a high profit and has a seemingly endless demand. As our society looks for solutions, some are calling for a two-pronged approach, tough on traffickers with treatment options for users, and the same two tiers with criminal law penalties.
We need to look at the low-level substance abusers who are suffering from addiction and disease. We need to address them differently than those that are dealing the drugs, trafficking in the drugs, or producing the drugs.
There are many aspects to this. Let's find out more from our panel. Joining us is Dr. Adam Berman. He's the Associate Chair of Emergency Medicine at Northwell Health. Dr. Berman, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate it. Also joining us is Ray Donovan. He's the Special Agent in charge of the Drug Enforcement Administration, New York Field Office. Ray, great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Also with us is Jillian Snyder. She's a Policy Director of Criminal Justice at the R Street Institute. She's a former NYPD officer and a lecturer at John Jay College. Jillian, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
We really appreciate it. Ray, I want to start with you on this in terms of the overall danger of fentanyl and how available it is to people. Why did the DEA put out this warning recently?
Well, we put out the warning, a national alert on fentanyl because the dangers and the threat is so high, with 93,000 Americans that succumbed to fentanyl last year alone. We thought it was important for us to really push out this message, really for families and for parents, because we've seen a new trend taking place nationally, not only here in New York City, but we see the cartels are pushing more and more counterfeit pills into the market. And so the threat has risen from what it was years past.
Jillian, we've seen a lot of deaths to fentanyl on the streets, a lot of it with IV users who were using heroin that was laced with fentanyl. You were on the NYPD as recently as a couple of years ago. What kinds of changes did you see on the streets in terms of how people were consuming these drugs?
Well, I worked in the South Bronx for most of my career, and most of the individuals there that were using it were substance abusers who didn't even know they were buying anything that was laced with fentanyl. Generally speaking, they were going out there and buying bags of heroin that they unintentionally used and overdosed on subsequently.
Dr. Berman, in terms of what fentanyl does, first of all, is it all illegal? Isn't some of it used in legitimate medical practice?
Yeah, absolutely. Fentanyl is a medication that we do use pretty regularly in the hospital, but we do know that the vast, vast majority of the fentanyl that's on the street that people are getting, whether they know it or not, is not hospital grade. It is not made for hospitals. It's made illicitly. So you're never really sure what you're getting when you buy fentanyl on the street.
We'll be back right after this.
The people that we're investigating, they don't care about humans. They care about just making money. And so the fastest way for them to make money right now happens to be fentanyl.
Jillian, in terms of the way the laws are around fentanyl, what do you see happening and what are your concerns?
Well, honestly, we've over-criminalized fentanyl, and not that I don't want to hold people accountable for what they're doing, but we're treating it more as a tough-on-crime approach, which historically we know doesn't work. And subsequently, we're just locking up lots of people, and they're not getting the treatment they need. And we need to treat it more from a harm reduction standpoint or a public health standpoint, because ultimately what we want to do is we want to get the traffickers and get what they're bringing into the country. But most of the arrests are for those low-level distributors or those using it. According to the latest statistics, since they increased to Schedule 1 for fentanyl and its analogs, only about 5.8% of those arrested are in for trafficking, which means everyone else arrested is just for use or low-level possession.
Ray, in terms of give us an idea of where is this all coming from? Because I was out on the streets in the South Bronx, in one of where the highest death rate was a couple of years ago with the NYPD overdose squad as they were going around. That was a very different type of drug user than a suburban high school student or a suburban college student. Where is all this fentanyl coming from?
So originally the fentanyl was being produced in China. After May of 2019, that all changed. The Chinese decided to regulate fentanyl and all the variations of fentanyl. Now we see the precursors coming in from China to Mexico. From there, the Mexican cartels started producing fentanyl at very high rate because it's so lucrative. And these cartels are preying on Americans all across America. And so for them, it's a business model. It's about it doesn't matter about people getting addicted. It's for them, they're just targeting Americans because it's so lucrative. Look, 1 kilo of fentanyl could generate millions of dollars.
1 kilo?
That's right.
Wow. Because it takes so little, Dr. Berman, correct me if I'm wrong, it takes so little for people, especially with the street fentanyl. You don't know what you're getting. We hear about people overdosing on like one pill that they thought was a Percocet pill.
Right.
How is that possible? What does that do to you?
Well, when we think about medications, opioids such as fentanyl, the ones that we're more familiar with are things like morphine, which people are aware of, oxycodone, Percocet, those types of things. Fentanyl is 50 to 100 times more potent than those drugs, which means that an amount much smaller than an amount of morphine or Percocet or oxycodone that would kill you will kill you with fentanyl. So for instance, you had mentioned a kilo of fentanyl. There's up to, depending on who you ask, enough fentanyl in a kilo of fentanyl to kill 500,000 people if they took a lethal dose.
And what is a lethal dose? Because sometimes we hear like people saying, well, even a grain, like an amount as small as like a couple of, like a teeny bit of sugar, like
right.
can actually kill you. Is that true?
It's absolutely true. The amount of fentanyl that you need to take to kill yourself is about 2 milligrams, which is not a lot. We dose fentanyl when we give it in the hospital in micrograms, thousands of a gram at a time. So 2 milligrams is a significant enough amount to kill you.
So in New York, in the last 12 months, we're seizing about 100 kilos a month. And so we determined about 42% of the seizures that we're making has enough of a lethal dose of fentanyl in it to kill someone. And so that's a lot. And let me circle back on something. The people that we're investigating, they don't care about humans. They care about just making money. And so the fastest way for them to make money right now happens to be fentanyl, synthetic opioid. It's cheap and it's easy to make, and it has an endless supply.
So, Jillian, in terms of the way you look at it, the way you study fentanyl, you study it in terms of how it's being used on the streets or how it's being used in the pills and being prosecuted? Give us an idea of that.
Where I worked in the South Bronx in the Hunts Point area. We didn't see your traditional rural or suburban person using pilled fentanyl. We saw people that were buying heroin and they were getting laced heroin and they were dying. But now what I do, because I study policy and I work in DC to advance, pragmatic reforms in public policy, we don't think that over criminalizing a substance. And again, I believe in holding traffickers to a very high standard and accountability. But the people who are suffering from abuse and the people who are unintentionally buying fentanyl, I don't think that they should be prosecuted as if they were traffickers. And that's what's happening right now.
Ray, in terms of the way that it's coming in, like the fentanyl, if it's synthetic, we hear it's synthetic. So can it be made anywhere?
Well, I mean, it's being made in Mexico right now in clandestine laboratories in certain cities and certain areas where the cartels are strongest. And once it's made, it's being mass produced, and it's really being made in two different ways, right? It's being made in powder form, and now more and more the pill form. They're actually converting that into a counterfeit pill so that they could smuggle it easily into the country.
So that's how it's coming in. Jillian, in terms of the laws, because you study the impact of the laws on the community, what do you see that could be done to stop it? I mean, how do you actually stop it? Because people say, well, you get rid of one drug enterprise, there's another one that springs up to take its place.
No, and I think honestly, what our federal government is doing is really trying to, get in the middle of the traffickers bringing the substance in. And I'm in agreement with that. I think that should be our number one focus and our number one priority. But at the local and municipal level, we still have a lot of officers who are just out there on the street and they're just locking up the low-level possessors, which I think we should, reallocate resources to focus on who's bringing it in. And because those that are bringing it in are generally not the people using the substance and dying from it.
And then, and Dr. Berman, in terms of these fake pills that are being used, that we're talking about, that are, that contain fentanyl and people think they're taking something else. Have you seen cases like that?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen cases like that. The truth is that we've probably seen a lot more cases than we even know of, because most people who come to the hospital thinking that they've overdosed on something, in many cases think that they took one thing, but actually in reality had something completely different.
And is there any way to know what you're actually getting or taking?
So interestingly, fentanyl does not show up on the routine drug screens that we do in most hospitals. It can be tested for in blood or urine on like more specific testing, but it's not something that would show up right away. It can be tested in more advanced labs, but that takes time. It's not usually clinically helpful. So we are usually treating patients just on a clinical suspicion based on the story or the way that they look clinically when they come to the hospital.
And when they're coming in, and what are you seeing? Certain age groups? Are you seeing certain demographics? What are you seing come into the ED?
I mean, in terms of the fentanyl, we're seeing the same demographics that we see using heroin. It's starting in people younger and younger, moving into middle age. We're unfortunately seeing people now who are older than middle age who are using it as well. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to fit any one specific area that we can target. It really doesn't discriminate.
Ray, what do you see in terms of the use? Because we recently saw, may he rest in peace, Michael K. Williams, the famous actor, very talented actor and beloved member of the community here in New York, who did so much for the youth and for a lot of people that we didn't even know about until after he passed away. The medical examiner said he died from an overdose of cocaine and heroin and also fentanyl. Is that mixing becoming more common? Because a lot of people will say, well, I got it from my regular dealer, so they've never screwed me in the past, so I trust them. But what do you say to that when you hear that?
I say, first of all, there's no quality control on these substances that are being dispensed in the street. Let me just be upfront with you. And so more and more, we're seeing organizations and criminal networks that are doing exactly that. They want to make a certain substance stronger or the feeling to be different, so they add fentanyl to it. Originally, when the cartel started doing this, they were adding fentanyl to heroin back in 2012 to make the heroin stronger. And then the demand for synthetic opioids like fentanyl started to increase. So even this year in New York, our seizures of heroin are way down and our seizures of fentanyl are way up.
So what's out there on the streets is getting more and more potent. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. It is getting more and more potent. And one other thing I'd add, Lisa, is that we're starting to see the convergence of markets. And what I mean by that is you have the street hardcore user that will go to a street corner and buy their fentanyl. They call it China White often. And then you have now the social user on the weekend who thinks that they're taking Xanax or Adderall or Percocet or some other drug. And in fact, they're taking fentanyl. And so the methodologies are even different too, because they're reaching into people's homes via social media and other online chat rooms.
Ray, you were involved in the leader of the team, I think, that took down El Chapo. Is that right?
That's right. I was part of the team that went after El Chapo.
And then we've seen, I mean, so many of us have seen like documentaries and news reports and even fictional things of how that happened and how he was trafficking. Have things changed now, or what do you see happening now?
Well, the one thing that I would say about in regards to El Chapo is that El Chapo was one of the first people to really lace heroin with fentanyl. And so he really, and the Sinaloa cartel launched this. I mean, he started this and he passed it down to his sons and to his organization. And so we've seen the growth of that in synthetic drugs really being mass produced in Mexico. And he was one of the lead people behind that. The change from then to now is we're seeing more and more synthetics coming into the United States. So it's not only fentanyl, it's methamphetamine, it's cannabinoids, it's other clandestine laboratory produced drugs.
So they can make these drugs in laboratories. They don't need to have like a big growing field or anything like that.
Well, that's the challenge for law enforcement, because, you know, if you wanted to make a kilo of heroin, it would take you about 4 months of cultivating and then turning it into paste and then refining the heroin. And so now with fentanyl, you don't need to do that. You can buy all the precursors and make it around the clock. And so that is the challenge that we face.
And a lot of the seizures that have happened have been with fentanyl here in New York City.
That's right. So our seizures of fentanyl, we're over 1,000 kilos, about 100 kilos a month of fentanyl that we're seizing here in New York City.
And then in terms of the street distribution, are there certain gangs? Like, how is it getting out on the streets? Or like our typical New York, I mean, are the street gangs?
So there's levels, there's actual levels to distribution. So the lowest level is often street organizations or street gangs or network from a certain community. And then the next level up, they're going to be more the wholesale broker level. And so they are the individuals that are working directly into the cartel to receive wholesale amounts of fentanyl and heroin into the city.
So the people that are, the teens that may be getting these pills in the suburbs, how are they getting them?
They're getting it via social media often, or through some other internet access point.
Jillian, in terms of, what do you think about that in terms of these distribution methods and in terms of the legislation and these policies that you're making and advising on?
It's changed so much over the last 20 years. I mean, and I'm sure Ray can attest to this. It used to just be your corner boy who would be selling. He'd go up to the, re-up at the stash house, but that came from somewhere else. Now we have all these different methods for people to buy drugs. And again, it depends on if you're in the city or if you're out in the suburbs. You could order it through an app. You could pay with Bitcoin. It's so hard to try and narrow down who you're getting it from, what you're actually getting. But again, there's different calibers of users. Your people that live in Westchester or Rockland County, they're generally not going to go buy powder. They're going to buy pills because it's socially more acceptable to take a pill than it is to shoot something into your arm. But really, the ultimate goal, in public policy, or at least I work for a center-right public policy organization. So we're about pragmatic solutions, practical solutions, and kind of doing what's best for everyone. So we know that locking up everyone for simple use is not effective, especially if they are a drug addict, if they suffer from this disease. In the last comprehensive study done last year, 77% of those that are in jail or prison overdosed. They had an unintentional fentanyl-related overdose while incarcerated. So, I mean, it's showing us that locking up the low-level users is not solving the opioid-related death crisis.
Ray Donovan, final word?
I think the first thing, to circle back to what Jillian and Dr. Berman said, is awareness. And we need to really get it out to our parents and even to the user that one pill can kill. And you don't want to put your life in someone else's hands.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers on the fentanyl epidemic. You can watch it again and share it on our Fox 5 NY YouTube page. I'm Lisa Evers. Remember, use your mind, it's your best weapon. Let's push for peace, love, and justice for all.